welcome to this session on Futureproofing with Digital. Myself Ganesh Pai, and I'm going to be your host for this session. As all of you know that digital is a new buzzword now. Anything and everything in the business, in the life is getting converted into digital technology. We are moving towards a new digital world wherein there are a lot of possibilities which we want to be part of, isn't it? So I'm so glad that you opted to be part of that league of people who want to be part of the transformation of the future. Let's get on with the topics. So let's understand what are you going to learn in this session. By the end of this session, you will know the key skills which are needed to grow in your profession or occupation in next 5 years. After the COVID impact, the world has changed a lot. The needs of the world have also changed a lot. Everything is getting digital. Because of this, the skill requirement is also changing, and the new landscape of skill demands a new persona altogether. We will try to understand in this session as to what are those skills which are most important that we need to hone so that we are ahead of the market in whatever we are doing. Let's look at who is it for. If you're a working professional who is looking to grow in your respective job, profession, or in your vertical, then it's for you. Are you a university student who is looking to start a career? Then certainly you have to be aware of what skills you need to hone to be successful in next 5 years. If you're a business owner, it is most important for you to lead the market. If you don't lead the market, you will be out of the market. So certainly you have to be in that band which leads the market. So for that reason, you have to understand what are those skills which are most important for you to have in your organization. Now let's look at some concepts. There are 3 key professional needs of the era. Okay, every era is different. If you look at 1940s, 50s, 60s, the needs were different. And we were calling them as baby boomers. And then came Gen X. The needs were different altogether. Now we have Gen Y and Gen Z, and the needs of these 2 generations are entirely different. And when we study the needs of this generation, there are 3 key areas that are most important that we need to focus on. Number 1, all of us are looking for freedom, isn't it? And this freedom is not just the freedom to live. The freedom is more towards financial aspect as well as operational aspect. What is the financial aspect? I have seen some of my mentees coming to me and saying that, Ganesh, I just want to work till the age of 40. After that, I don't want to work. Then what do you want to do? I want to do something which can really change this world. Or some of them say, I want to travel the world, be happy after that. I don't want to be working till retirement. The needs have changed. This was not the need of Gen X. Gen X wanted to work till retirement. Now people don't want to work till retirement. They want to be financially free by a certain age. And operational freedom is also important because nowadays we are not interested in doing some things which people tell us to do. We want to do something which we want to do. And that's where the second point comes into picture, which is called work satisfaction. We want to work on a topic that we love, right? We don't want to work on some random topic which just gives us money. Yes, we will work for the money, sake of money. At the end of the day, we want that satisfaction, and if that satisfaction has to come, then we have to work on that area which we are passionate about, which we love to do. In short, if we get into that area, if we start working in that area, we will not really feel tired even after hours and hours of work in that area. Now, third point is contribution. Now, many of us want to do something for this world. I would say if you compare with Gen X, Gen Y and Gen Z are financially sound and placed right in terms of their assets and liabilities. So when you are financially sound, the next aspiration that a person or a human being has is a contribution need. They want to do something for the world, right? And all this generation, people have interviewed, people have spoken to from Gen Y and Gen Z, a lot of people want to contribute in some or the other way to this world. Now the question is, if we have freedom on one side, work satisfaction on the other side, contribution on the third side, right now I have seen people, working on in a job or doing a business for the sake of financial freedom and operational freedom, and they are in some hobby for work satisfaction, and then they are doing some social work for the sake of contribution. Absolutely stunning. But the problem is we don't have so much of time. The problem is we do not have so much of life. We have only 30-40 years of a professional life, wherein if we have to do all these three together and spend life or time into, divide our time into this, it becomes a cumbersome task, right? It becomes a hectic task many a times. So what do we need to do in that case? So we have to find one arena wherein we have this freedom, we have work satisfaction, we have contribution also. Okay, so we're going to look at that perspective in the upcoming slides. Okay, now the important factor is to find the common ground. That's what we're going to do in the next few minutes. Now let's look at three directions to satisfy these needs. Now we have understood what are our needs. What are the directions to satisfy these needs? Number one, you can go for employment. We'll talk about professional directions here. So employment becomes the prime way of satisfying the financial need as well as your aspirational needs, in terms of you want to do something, you are a core architect, you want to work in architectural firms, or you are a pharmacy guy who loves chemistry, you want to be in R&D centers of chemical firms. Absolutely fine, good. That's a very good way of satisfying the needs, these three needs. Now the second option you have is self-employment. That means some people don't want to be working for an organization, but they want to work for many organizations. Okay, so they work as freelancers, and they work based on the projects and tasks needed, and they work in their own areas of interest. The third option we have is building own business. Entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, fits into this kind of model. But the point is, the growth and success in all these three areas depends on one factor. Depends on only one factor. That is your business acumen. Okay. But unfortunately, our academic system teaches us only technical teaches only the technical expertise. What do I mean by that? A CA knows everything about finance. A commerce graduate knows everything about the finance. An engineer knows everything about his own field. It can be mechanical engineering, computer science, electronics, everything about his function. A B Pharma guy knows about everything about the pharmaceutical products. But very few people know about the business side of it. When they enter into industry, either as employee or as, if they build their own business around it, what matters is business acumen. Technical expertise matters, no doubt, but the maximum share of learning or maximum share of contribution should be from business acumen side. Because if you do not have business acumen, you can't run a business, and no organization in this world is doing things just for the sake of charity. Yes, there are charity organizations, but the business organizations which pay you money are completely focused on the business outcome. And the problem is our academics does not teach anything related to business acumen, and that's the biggest problem that we see today, right? So we'll see how do we really evolve over a period of time when we look at the other concepts also. What stops us from success? Let's look at it. Number one is lack of clarity. Absolutely, this is the biggest problem as I have observed. A lot of us have many ideas. Ideas could be related to your own product in your own organization, or you may have a new business idea. You want to build a new business altogether. But in all the cases, we have many options in our mind. We have so many opportunities, and we get confused. We get confused so much so that we don't even act on any one of those ideas. Every idea is there in our mind, isn't it? Do you resonate with this? I'm sure many of us resonate with this, because I have seen a lot of people, I would say more than 85% of people lying in this category, that they have so many ideas but they don't have clarity as to which direction to go, which idea to pick, how to go about it. Next point. Imagine that you pick one idea. The problem is there is a fear of failure. You don't have enough courage to go ahead and implement that idea or test it out in the market. Number three is, even if you gather courage to implement and test that idea, the problem is you don't have right skills and knowledge. You don't know how to approach it, what to where to start from, where to go, what to do about it. Completely unaware of it. These are the three key problems which are stopping us from success, be it in an organization or be it in an entrepreneurial journey. In organization also we have the same problem. We get so many ideas, we don't know which one to propose to management, which one not to propose, what is the management strategy, which direction organization wants to go, and if I give this idea, will it be acceptable or not? So many confusions, right? So what do we do about it? First, let's understand why do we have these issues, right? If before we understand these issues, it does not make sense to jump into the solution part of it. First point, why do we have lack of clarity? Just because we have not learned how to set right goals for ourselves, and those goals come with your intuition. If you have right goals in your mind, and if you have reinforced those goals in your mind properly, the moment ideas flow or thoughts flow in your mind, you'll be able to segregate them properly, saying that what fits for you and what does not fit for you, right? And this is an art. This is an art, and it's also a skill to build your own goals. Number two, lack of courage. Why is it? The problem is with the mindset. We have not learned self-management. Okay, when it comes to self-management, it boils down to many aspects, like what to prioritize, what is the time that I have to allocate for what, and then with all these things in place, your motivation also comes into picture. When you have right motivation, automatically that motivation gives you courage to act. Self-motivation is the crux of self-management. Whatever we do in self-management in terms of time management, priority management, our communication skills, and everything is to derive to one final conclusion, that is to derive self-motivation. And if you have self-motivation, courage is given. Courage is automatically given. Okay. The next point is, why do we have why don't we have right skills and knowledge? Because the need of the world is changing every now and then. We are in a world which is changing every moment. The product which is valid today will not be valid tomorrow. That means every now and then the skills and the approaches are changing and it's like every day is an innovative day. That means you have to learn new skills and approaches every now and then. You have to be a lifetime learner. And typically what we do is, after we finish our graduation or after we finish, we fix our niche into one area of expertise in our jobs or in our business, we freeze our learning, saying that I'm done with my learning, let me just work and produce output. It was working, my dear friends, it was working earlier, but not now. It will not work anymore, because the world is changing, because the needs are changing. The needs do not stay constant for more than 2-3 days nowadays. I'm not talking about months also, 2-3 days. Every 3 days the needs change. So you have to be very agile in terms of developing your skills and changing your approach towards a business or towards your profession. Now, what needs to be fixed? Now let's look at the solution part of it. Let me put them into two different buckets. If I look at lack of clarity and lack of courage as one bucket, then what you need to do is you have to manage your thoughts right, because it's related to mind. Lack of clarity and lack of courage is absolutely an issue related to your own mind. It's not an external issue, it's an internal issue. Okay? And what you need to do about it is you have to manage your thoughts right. Now, lack of right knowledge and skills is certainly an external issue, wherein you have to learn something. To learn something, you have to unlearn something also. You have to unlearn the mindset which you have, or the unlearn the older technologies or older patterns that you have in your mind. You just have to unlearn all those things and start afresh and learn from a different perspective. Now let's see, what are the skills those are required in this journey. The World Economic Forum recently, in I think October 2020, published a report which gave 10 skills required for 2025. Now if you look at the classification of the skills, there are 4 areas in which the skills are divided. Number 1 is problem solving, self-management, working with people, technology use and development. Right? Now if you look at all these different skills here, many of them are quite new. Okay, these were not the skills which were considered to be the most required skills 10 years back, or I would say 5 years back also. We were talking about all technical skills 5 years back. Now also we are talking about technical skills, because many of us have not graduated to this level wherein we are thinking analytical thinking and innovation is our core area wherein we have to develop. We are still thinking, what kind of programming skills I have to have, what kind of tools I have to learn. These are all secondary, because the world is moving beyond the technology. Now the artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms coming into the market are able to do every work that a human being is able to do. Human being has to graduate to next level wherein he has to differentiate himself from a machine. Isn't it? How do we do that? Now let's look at, I have listed down around 8 skills here. You can see 7 pointers here, 8 skills, which is leadership and social influence also clubbed together. These are the key skills which I feel are most important when it comes to success, either in your profession or in your business. Self-management, stress tolerance, analytical thinking, critical thinking, innovation and creativity, active learning, leadership and social influence. Now I've already spoken about self-management. It's all about managing one's own abilities, managing one's own strengths and weaknesses, also managing time, managing priorities, managing communication. These are all self-management skills. Managing your own money is also part of it. Stress tolerance is also important here. That's also part of self-management skill, because with so many changes in the marketplace, it becomes difficult for human beings to take that stress of change, because human beings resist change, isn't it? We all resist change. And when we resist change, resistance creates stress. And if those of you who understand mechanics well, the stress, the definition of stress itself is based on resistance to a force. And when there is a change, we resist that change. The moment we resist the change, we get stressed up. And we should understand, we should learn the techniques to tolerate that stress. The next point is analytical thinking and critical thinking. What is an analytical thinking? Say for example, you find a problem on the ground. You see basically a problem related to parking or related to traffic. Okay, so you understand that in a bigger city you have problems with the traffic. Now how do you really understand that problem? By splitting it into small pieces. See, when I tell you there is a problem with the traffic in the city, it's a very big problem to understand. Analytical thinking approach gives you methods by which you can split that problem into small pieces and analyze them together and then come to a conclusion. When we come to a conclusion and when we derive a solution, it is called critical thinking. Right? These two things are quite related. Analytical thinking and critical thinking are quite related. Analytical thinking is nothing but splitting a bigger problem into small problems and then identifying what piece of it you can solve and understanding the whole puzzle or pearl chain of the problems. And then critical thinking is nothing but coming up with a conclusion of all these problems that you can solve and coming up with a solution for it. Right? So this is going to be very, very important skill when it comes to the next generation, or after 5 years these are going to be like day in day out skills. If we are not adept with it, it is necessary that we have to buck up and run towards honing these skills. The next point is important: innovation and creativity. Specifically, I would say the uh, smartphone market has made people quite tech savvy as well as innovation savvy. Okay, people want to see different features every now and then. They are habituated to looking at different options every now and then, and mobile phone companies are also coming up with various innovations to meet such demand. So with this in place, though we handle our phones every now and then, right? We always have our phones with us. So that simply means we are demanding innovation every now and then, right? We are demanding innovation every now and then. The market today demands innovation every now and then. So it is important for us to learn the skill of innovation. How do we really innovate our ideas? We get different ideas, we get different thoughts, but how do you really innovate it? What is the way that we approach that idea? How creatively can we really craft that idea such that market really accepts it? Yeah. So this is important skill. The next thing is active learning. Now the passive learning methods are going, wherein a professor or lecturer gives a lecture, and students really listen to it and go back home and study it. Active learning is nothing but understanding something, doing it, and learning from it. Actually speaking, in the traditional methods, we were not learning, we were only understanding the concepts. We were listening to professors and we were understanding the concepts. Unless and until we implement them in the laboratory or in the physical world, we are not learning. The focus in the coming days will be on active learning, and leadership and social influence is going to be the key in the coming days. When we combine social influence and leadership together, we come to something called thought leadership. Okay, people won't come to you just if you are giving them some stuff which is already existing in the market. If you have a new thought, if you have a new thought process that you want to convey to people, then you can create a social influence. Social influence is going to be a key in coming days when it comes to marketing. So we'll come to that point in the next slides also. Then let's look at, let's get some clarity. Now we have understood our three problems, we have understood two ways by solving those problems. Let's understand and put these skills under these buckets. The four topics like self-management, stress tolerance, active learning, and critical thinking fall under the managing thoughts principle, whereas analytical thinking, innovation, creativity, leadership, social influence, all these fall under learn and unlearn principle. Okay, so the question we have here is, now we have understood what is our problem, now we have understood why the problem exists, now we have understood what do we need to do in terms of upgrading the skills. The question here is, are we ready for the future? Are we ready? If not, then we'll have to relook at the way we operate, the relook at the way we learn. So the question is, are we ready for the future? For what? One, if we are in employment, to grow in our profession. If we are self-employed, we have to be relevant in the market. And if we build our own business, how do we really profitably grow? We don't want to be falling under that 90% category of startups which really fail within first 5 years. We want to be succeeding. We want to fit into the rest 10%. So how do we really grow profitably? Are we ready for the future? Okay. Before we jump onto this topic, let me just give you a brief introduction about myself. My name is Ganesh Pai, and I'm a mechanical engineering graduate with a diploma in business management. I'm a certified professional in innovation management. I have 16 plus years of experience in research and development, product and business innovation areas. I've filed multiple patents. I have mentored novel patentable ideas. I've been part of global innovation teams of top-notch organizations in India, Germany, and Japan. I have worked with IITs as well as University of Michigan on academic collaboration topics related to open innovation. So if you look at my whole forte, it's more related to new ideas, new thought process, and new innovations. My roots are in spirituality. I firmly believe in spirituality, and I have been practicing spirituality since my childhood. So my roots are deeply into spirituality. And when it comes to my hobbies, I'm a classical singer as well as I play tabla. And the The question which comes to many people, that I have a different portfolio altogether. Why am I doing what I'm doing right now? Why am I teaching all these things to you? Why am I giving this session? What is the reason? The reason is my teacher, Dr. Govindaraju. Way back in 1994, 95, sometimes, where I was in high school, I was in a residential high school, which was a more of a spiritual high school. Okay, it was 150 acres of space, where in our school, hostel, everything was located, and we were like inside it, learning the values of life along with the academics. And all our teachers were bachelors, staying there, dedicating they had dedicated their lives for the development of the kids, and we had very much high respect for them. And one of them is my teacher, who's Dr. Govindaraju. One day I went to him and asked him, "Sir, what is the purpose of our life?" We used to hear a lot of spiritual, I would say, concepts, and at that point of time, one thing came to my mind, is that what is the purpose of this life? Why do we exist? Then he gave me a social answer, okay? And he said the purpose of life is to lead a life of purpose. He said, the whole reason you are here is for a purpose. If you have taken birth here on this earth, there is a reason, there is a purpose. Find that purpose. Find that purpose and create a difference in this society, which has given a space for you to live and grow. Right? If you're born in this society, if you are growing in this society, then there is a liability that you have towards your society, and that should be your purpose of your life. Solve any problem that people have, and then you will find your purpose by yourself. I stuck on to it for a long time. I did a lot of things. I did a lot of charitable activities. I started teaching people. I started training people. I started teaching people on spirituality and many other stuff. I started teaching people on self-development, personal effectiveness, and everything. And whatever I'm doing right now is also part of it. I still believe that the purpose of life is life of a purpose. How do I do that? I do it through my social contribution. As a thought navigation coach, I have mentored more than 100 people who are young talents in thought innovation and self-management. Whatever skills and abilities I have tried to leverage them for the betterment of the society by coaching the young talents, so that they can unleash their potential towards their professional success, either in their employment or profession, or if a lot of them have also gone in the direction of startups. So this is the way I want to contribute to the society, and that's one of the basic or main reason why I am doing this. My mission is to help people harness their power of thoughts, leading to a positive transformation in their way of living. Because I have realized over the last 16 years that thoughts are the seeds of creation. Thoughts are the seeds of creation. It's not the ideas, those are seeds of creation, believe me. Your thoughts get converted into ideas later, or an ideology later. Then only, they come into the market, or they reach the people. Thoughts are the seeds of creation, and I want to nurture those thoughts in a right way, such that those thoughts can create value for self as well as for the society. Now let's look at some of the stats and predictions, where we are going in terms of what's happening in the market. Where do we stand in terms of the data or stats? 80% of engineering graduates in India are not employable. This is said by Money Control. More than 50% of Indian youth will not have skills for 21st century jobs, already predicted by UNICEF. Economic Times says 91% of the Indians feel their skills would become obsolete in next 5 years. I mean, where are we heading now? This is quite alarming. This is not the way we want to go, right? If 80% of the engineering graduates are not employable, then what are we doing with engineering degrees? If 50% of the youth will not have skills for next year, then why are we developing people? there is something is seriously lacking there, and we'll have to figure it out and make sure that we don't fall in these category of 80%, 50%, or 91%. Now let's look at what's going on from the business perspective, or on a startup perspective. A lot of people go for startups, equally more people go towards employment. Now, it's disheartening to see that 90% of the startups in India fail within 5 years. IBM says so, and it is well endorsed by Forbes, Money Control, Business Line. All these biggies have confirmed that 90% of startups in India fail within 5 years. Quite alarming. It's not good. It's really not good, because if this continues, then people will not have courage to start any new business. No, we have to understand the reason for it. When I did my research, the first and foremost reason which I found was the lack of sustained innovation. Look at all those companies, like you talk about Ola, you talk about Flipkart, and all of these are replicated business models. Some of them are running great, no doubt about it, because they have added their own flavor of innovation into it, but maximum of them are failing because there is no novelty into it. People start a new company or a new product, and while they start a new product, they come up with an innovative idea. What happens is customers buy that innovative idea, and the owner of the company or the owner of the startup forgets that customers have not bought their product, customers have bought their innovation. Now, when he continues his journey, he does not innovate continuously, because customers are expecting, right? Customers are expecting that the value that you add, it should be in terms of innovation. They want everything new. Why do you buy new versions of iPhone every now and then? If they sell the same iPhone, will you buy it? No, right? Just because iPhone every now and then comes up with some upgrade, some new features, some new innovations, those are unique, and that is the reason we buy, or people buy iPhones. And that should be true with all the products. Whatever product we launch, we should have a clear innovation plan for next 2 years. I would say at least 2 years. As to, first you come up with one innovation, then you have, you plan for next innovation after 7 months or 10 months. After that, you plan a third innovation in the second half of the next year. Likewise, you should have a plan of your innovation journey. But unfortunately, what happens is people come up with great ideas, they only innovate it once, and rest all they feel that they're going to buy people are going to buy their product for lifetime, which does not happen, unfortunately. Now, what is the next thing? The next problem is lack of proper market need analysis. I have seen people coming up with great ideas. Okay, they overnight they come up with great ideas and come and tell me saying that I have this great idea, I want to build a business around it. The question I ask them is, yeah, it's a great idea, maybe for you and me. How about others? Have you really checked it? Have you really tested whether the product or the idea that you are coming up with is required in the market or not? And they have never tested it. When I ask them to test, they go to their friends and check and say, yeah, I have tested with all the friends. Now your friends might just tell you that the idea is great, but they might not buy your idea when they might not buy your product, or even they might buy, but is it scalable that you sell it to some 50 friends? No, you have to look at a broader market and see whether there's a need in the market and do you have a scalability for your idea or not. Third point is lack of marketing and placements. We Indians are quite introverts. Not only Indians, Asians are introverts. So what happens is we are ready to create great products. We are ready to come up with great ideas. But when it comes to going and placing it in the market, when it comes to selling to people, we take a backseat. We give it to a third-party marketing agency who does not even understand ABCD of your product, and they sell it the way they want, and then come back and repent saying that, my product did not work. You resonate with your product, then you should be able to market your product. Someone else who's sitting there and marketing your product does not resonate with your product, cannot really market it to people, cannot really sell it to people. So that is the way the energy works. You resonate, your energy resonates with your product because your sweat and blood is there in the product, and that is where you can sell it with higher energy than a marketing guy, right? Let's look at some benchmark success stories now. Okay, now look at Steve Jobs, look at Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Matthew Mullenweg. Successful, I would say, those people whom people look at as icons and they want to follow them. What do you think they have done? What is that great thing that they have done? They have only done two things. They have solved a critical problem innovatively. They have marketed their innovative solution smartly. Look at Facebook for that matter. Mark Zuckerberg created a social platform wherein he solved the problem of connecting with people, because connecting with people was difficult on a physical platform, because you wanted to meet your classmates whom you had met 20 years back, but you want to be in touch with them, and you want to be in touch with your friends and relatives. And Mark Zuckerberg realized that this is the critical problem today, and he gave an innovative solution, which is Facebook. And it's not constant. Facebook is innovating every now and then. Okay, it's not that once he launched Facebook and then sat back and relaxed. No, he's innovating every now and then. And he's marketing his innovative solution smartly. The way Facebook is placing itself, or for that matter in a WordPress or Apple or Microsoft, they are placing themselves in a right way in the market very smartly, so that right target market is reached to as well as served to. Now let's go back to our buckets and understand how do we really get to such kind of path that these iconic figures have gone towards, as well as we also have to gather the skills. See, one thing is we have to look at all these benchmarks. On the other side, we have to solve our problems, these three problems that we have: the lack of clarity, lack of courage, and lack of right skills and knowledge. On the other side, we have to gear up with the new skills which are required for the future. How do we do all these things together? And that's where the segregation comes into picture, and that's where the three secrets come into picture. Number one is reinvention. What is reinvention? When I place self-management, stress tolerance, active learning, all these things fit under one word, which is reinvention. That means you have to reinvent yourself. You have to reorganize yourself in such a way that you are ready to fit into the future needs. Number two is innovation. Analytical thinking, critical thinking, innovation and creativity are going to be the key skills for future. So you have to gear up and learn this and imbibe this. I'm not saying understand this. Don't go and watch out for some videos randomly and read some blogs and come back and say that I have learned. It's not learning, it's just understanding. We're talking about active learning here. Implementing, try and implement these skills in some other place, and by which you're going to learn that. Number three is marketing. In this world of digital marketing, wherein you can reach thousands of people in a fraction of a second, learning marketing has become the most important and necessary skill to survive. I'm not saying to grow, I'm just saying to survive, you have to learn marketing skills. And when it comes to leadership, as I said, thought leadership is something which is coming up in the future, and people who are going to be thought leaders are going to be successful in the coming days. Organizational leadership, yeah, it's there, but it's not a growth path. The growth path is in thought leadership and social influence. Okay, how many people are you able to influence with your ideology, with your thought process? That's what matters more than how much big team you have in your business, or how much big team you have in your organization, right? So that is the way world is going now. Now that we have understood the skills required for next 5 years, as well as different verticals where these skills fit in, let's understand the paths to leverage these skills. Because unless and until we know the paths to leverage the skills do not really have the utility, right? So let's look at the different paths. Number one is intrapreneurship. Now, some of you might be aware of this word, some of you might not be aware of this word. For those who are not aware of this terminology, which is intrapreneurship, let me explain that to you. Typical way of employment wherein you get employed by an employer and you do whatever your manager or your MD or your general manager says, those days are gone. Okay. Entrepreneurship is a scenario wherein any professional or an employee comes up with a great idea which affects the top line or bottom line of any organization, whether it increases the profitability of the organization or it reduces the cost of the business as a whole, and the employee takes that idea ahead as if it's his own idea, right? If you look at an entrepreneur comes up with an idea and he develops that idea by himself and he grows it and builds his own team, builds his own organization. But an intrapreneur is already in an organization. If you are an employee, if you are a working professional, then intrapreneurship is the way for you, wherein you have to come up with some great ideas which can really change the way the organization's profitability works, or it can really improve the processes or the profit margins of the organization, and then you take it forward by yourself. You go and pitch it in front of the management, you build your own team for it, and then you sell it to customer and you create a whole business scenario around that idea. In short, intrapreneurship is nothing but entrepreneurship inside an organization, whereas entrepreneurship is outside the organization. You build your own organization, you build your own business, whereas in intrapreneurship you're not building your own business, you are operating within one business and operating like an entrepreneur within that business. Innovation is getting into every nook and corner of the business. There is no way that you can get out of it. So the only option is to adapt, and these are the two ways that you can adapt to it. If you are an employee, then get into entrepreneurship journey. If you are willing to get into an entrepreneurship journey, you can get into. If you're already into a business, then you have to get away with your traditional mindset and develop your people in these verticals of reinvention, innovation and marketing. Okay. Now, the question would be, where do solopreneurship and freelancing fit here? I normally consider them under the entrepreneurship bracket because the skills required are same. Be a solopreneur or a freelancer, the skills required would be similar to that of an entrepreneur. Now, having said that, we understood what are the skills required, what are the verticals under which these skills fit, and what are the paths to leverage this skill. Now, the next question which will pop up in our minds is, how do I go about it, right? How do we go about it? What do we do about it now? I am convinced that this is the way to go. How do we go about it? Now, I wanted to click on the link below and register for an interactive workshop. And this workshop is going to be Idea Launch Technique Workshop. As I said, innovation is everywhere now. Now you have to whether you are in an organization working as an employee, or you have your own setup as an entrepreneur, or you want to become an entrepreneur, in all these cases, you should know how to launch your ideas, how to test your ideas, and how to really validate your ideas before you enter into this stream of either intrapreneurship or entrepreneurship. I would not want to go to that discussion in this recorded session, because it needs a lot of interaction. So this is going to be an interactive workshop wherein you're going to learn many different aspects, like how to approach the 3 key skills, how to actively learn the skills. Now, as I mentioned earlier, active learning is something by which you have practical exposure to it, you try doing it and then learn from it. You just don't learn from hearing from someone, right? So that is what we will understand here as active learning. How do we really actively learn these skills? And we have to understand what is our quotient. Are we fit to be an intrapreneur, or are we fit to be in entrepreneurial space? This is something I think all of us would have a question as a question in our mind for sure. So we'll have one assessment, which is going to be your self-assessment, I'll give you a template wherein you'll have to assess yourself as to whether you fit into entrepreneurial path or you fit into intrapreneurial path. Exciting? Okay, yeah, then we'll understand the future trends, where the industry is going and how you have to approach the industry from your skills. And then I'm going to give you a unique and proven way to validate your ideas. Now, with all this in place, once you register and get into, all the attendees will get gifts for sure. Okay, so with this, I would like to sign off from this session, and I would be waiting to see you in the interactive session wherein we will discuss all those open questions that you have in detail. There is a link here wherein you can click on the link and it'll open into a Google Sheet. You can put your questions and we will discuss those questions and the answers for those questions in our interactive session. I would request you to register right now. Since it's an interactive session, we cannot have many number of seats. We have limited number of seats. I would request you to register right now. Click on the link and register right now. See you in the session. Thank you.